Everybody listen to We're Not Wizards, because we are the best, and we're not wizards, no matter what anybody says. Goodbye.
Hello and welcome to another episode of We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard. I'll be your host for July. There's obvious jokes to introduce my next wonderful guests. But I'm not going to just be that type of person that does that. I like to be a bit innovative. So you could say I'm not just going to be the person who's going to look inside the box or underneath the box or around the box. I'll probably push the box to one side and look at what's behind the box. Because joining me tonight from behind the box is, I've got Chris, I've got Lindsey, and they're fantastic and wonderful. And say hello, people. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you, that was wonderful.
It's like, I know I don't say this very, very often, but you two are my favourites out of everybody. I'm just gonna, and there's gonna be complaints, and I'm gonna lose like 3 Twitter followers or something from the really emotional people out there. But I became aware of your channel a little while ago. You guys, we then bumped into each other in a rather short meeting at Aircon, and then I saw you in my kind of, I guess, my Twitter kind of timeline, and I went, I've not asked these people on, I better ask them on because otherwise it would be rude. And I was still wondering if you were still annoyed at me because we kind of met briefly at Aircon, and I was so surrounded by lots of millions of people that I was kind of like, hi, I've got a big box of games, I'm trying to concentrate, and then I've got to go off and be somewhere because I said I would play some games. So I'm delighted you guys are on. For people who aren't aware or haven't listened before, thank you very, very much for joining us. The reason that we do this is quite simply because we've gone through episode 300 and it just seems stupid to stop. Wow. Anything after that. And the second reason that we do this is because Chris and Lindsey do some fantastic stuff on their YouTube channel, and I thought it was time to have them on the show so you can learn a little bit about them, you can learn a little bit about the channel, and at the end of it, they too will be your favourites in the entire tabletop space. So
that's a big promise to make.
I'm just setting the expectation bar as in the medium as possible. So it's entirely your guys' decision how well this goes. If this goes really, really well, you can claim the credit. If it goes really, really badly, feel free to kind of blame it on me if you want to. As an aside, how long have you guys kind of been hanging about together, as we would say?
Hanging about.
Well, we got married in 2010.
Right.
Yeah, we met probably, was it 2007?
Yeah, it was 2007.
Yeah, I was studying abroad and we met. And then we did 3 years long distance, got married, moved over here in 2010.
Over here being England.
Yeah, sorry, UK.
Because you may have noticed one of us is American.
I couldn't guess, because I knew that one of you sounded a bit foreign, and the other one was Lindsey. But where are you originally from, Chris?
I'm from Warrington.
All right.
Near Manchester.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why I sound weird. And actually, because I live with Lindsey, and my voice has sort of transformed living with an American.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I do speak strangely.
People do ask him, like if we're at a checkout or something, they'll ask him where he's from. They won't necessarily ask me.
Yeah, and we live in Warrington. We did move away for a while, but we now live in Warrington, and people will be like, "Oh, where are you from? That's an interesting accent." I'm like, "I'm actually from here."
Being discriminated against in my own backyard kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where are you from, Lindsay?
I'm from Michigan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I say that, but I've no idea if you kind of like gave me a set of darts and asked me to throw darts at the right place of the map, or even point it out. I'd guess it was kind of like in the middle-ish, but I would probably be wrong. It's probably on the...
It borders Canada.
Oh, well, it's...
north.
It's like by Ontario, like by that sort of area.
So is it quite...
It's more middle than not.
Is it quite cold then?
In the wintertime, it's really cold, yeah. But in the summertime, it gets hot. We get what's called lake effect weather because we're it's a peninsula surrounded by all these Great Lakes, and that puts a lot of moisture into the air, and it makes the weather around there like more extreme. So we'll get lots of snow because of the lake effect.
But the summers are so humid.
The summers are really hot. We get a lot of mosquitoes.
Do you get a chance to go home quite a lot then?
Yeah, usually once or twice a year we go back.
Well, that's quite cool. That's quite good.
Yeah.
Does that mean, Chris, that you've got kind of like you automatically get kind of like a US visa for visiting then? You just kind of like say, well, we're going to be turning up at this date, and then you're kind of fine, or do you have to go kind of through? I know it's a sideways question, but I'm always interested.
Yeah, so I can. Like, we could work towards me getting a more permanent visa, but it's a lot to go through, and it costs quite a lot, and because we only go there to visit, I just go on the usual, like the ESTA that anyone can do.
Yeah.
So, I've not got any special privileges. The only special privilege I get when I go through is that I get to go through the faster line because Lindsay's American, so I don't have to wait.
Oh, right.
Some places won't do it, but a lot of the places will let you go through.
Yeah.
We can go through together through the American line, which is usually quicker than the international.
It's interesting because when you go to America, they're usually more understanding, and they'll let the foreign spouse go through with the American spouse through the American line. But when you come into the UK, it is exactly the opposite.
Yeah, I have to go through the slow line.
Yeah, he has to go through my line.
These are the hidden positives and losses that people don't talk about when you marry a foreigner.
I think that these things need to be expressed so people know exactly what they're getting into when they pick up some man from Warrington. That is what I'm saying. What is it you studied?
I studied biology at Central Michigan University.
Yeah, I studied computer games design in Huddersfield University.
Oh, right, okay. So did you just meet through like a chance encounter then? Were you just in the same place at the same time through kind of university? Was it, you can make this up if you want to, but was it over a dreamy game of Carcassonne or Catan? Or was it a case you kind of bumped into each other in the pub and then you got chatting?
No, we lived in the same like wing of a bit like a university building,
right, okay.
And I applied late to live in housing, and so when I got there, and they were like, "Okay, we've got a place for you, but it's in the international area," and so it was me, and then a hallway just full of American people. And so that's where Lindsay was. I got relegated. Wasn't good enough for the Brits.
I could just imagine you kind of fitting in anyway, just folk asking which part of the States you were from anyway. Because I think this whole accent thing's been going on. It's obviously been going on for quite some time. Now, if, just random people are just kind of asking. So, obviously, you went through the courting and the happiness and running about and, holding hands and, smiling and laughing and waving, and then obviously you kind of got married. Was the tabletop side of stuff, was that something that happened at university, or was that something that you stumbled into later on when you were together?
Well, That's a good question. I've always played games. My family, that's just how we
spend time
together. Yeah. We've always played games. But so when I introduced gaming to Chris, it was a lot of the stuff that I played growing up, which is your more typical stuff you can find at, I'm going to say American words here,
Walmart.
but like Walmart, Target, that sort of stuff.
Things
But
like Balderdash and...
Yeah, but Chris, you got to know some people on your course at university who were really into more modern board gaming, and then Chris is the one that really kind of brought us into modern board gaming.
Yeah, I've always played video games, like, since I was a kid, which is why I did the computer games design course. And then met some people there that were really into board gaming, and so we kind of... you hadn't really been much of a board gamer since being like younger and living with your family, and so we kind of got into it together. But yeah, through my friends that I've made that introduced modern board gaming to us. Did you
go into the video game industry then, Chris?
I did for a while. Yeah. It's very hard to get into. So for a while I did do that. Did a lot of contract work, and then. Yeah, it's tough. It's a tricky thing to break into. I'd have a lot of interviews. I travelled all over the country going for interviews and...
To different countries too.
Yeah, even at one point went over to the Netherlands for an interview. And yeah, I did some contract work, but never really got like a solid full-time position in that. So yeah, it was a shame, but
Yeah, I suppose if you've not got the stability as well, and if you're... I know a lot of the video games industry is a case that once that particular game or whatever is finished and shipped, then they can just turn around and say, right, contract's over, folks. Better get your CVs and your kind of your shirt and ties out so you can go and look for a kind of another job. So are you still in the kind of the IT computer type space? Are you doing something completely different than what you kind of set out to do?
No, something completely different. When we were in Huddersfield, I was working in insurance, and now I'm training to become an accountant now.
All right, cool.
So totally 180.
No. I mean, you got to... I've got a degree in sciences and chemistry and biochemistry and stuff like that, and I work as a consultant for Amazon for a living, so nothing to do at all with my specialist chosen subject. On occasion, people kind of, they talk about, and you got to watch out because you do end up with a bit of carbon scoring on it. Well, let me tell you all about carbon, shall we? And then it never goes kind of any kind of further than that. So you're slowly kind of getting into the hobby. Is it in terms of the board gaming in general? I've had one other, I guess, kind of couple on the show kind of before, which was Becky and Kelly from Board Games in Bed.
Oh yeah,
So was it something that kind of, as you kind of developed in the relationship, did the kind of the tabletop and board game side, did that give you like a common something that you guys could kind of like do together, rather than sit around watching the kind of the goggle box in the corner?
Yeah, that was pretty much exactly it. Yeah, because as soon as my friends started introducing me to games, the first thing I thought was, I need to get Lindsey to come and join us for these. And so it was games like Avalon was some of our first games, the social deduction stuff. Yeah. And Munchkin was a first one as well. And so I was playing them at university and then playing them at a local game store. Yeah. And I was like, right, this weekend, Lindsey, you've got to come with me. We're going to both go. And then we just started building our collection of board games. And yeah, it kind of became a nice alternative to when we didn't want to just sit and watch TV all night. We could be like, right, well, let's get some sort of game. So we started getting a lot more cooperative games and games with a bit more story and narrative. And yeah, just sort of dove straight in head first to all of those sort of games?
I think I found that, because I moved from America over here, and so I didn't really have any friends.
Yeah.
So I found that it was a helpful way, like a good excuse. Okay, so you know how when you're a kid and you make friends, it's you ask someone over to your house, that's so normal. But when you're an adult, it's really weird to just be like, hey, do you want to come over to my house?
Don't. I mean, it's such the weird thing. It's like, because of kind of board gaming, I have made a lot of friends. And in fact, Steve, who now writes for the site, we met because... This is going to sound so weird. I was in Waterstones with my kids. He was in Waterstones with his kids, and we were looking at the beginning of the board game kind of section. And he was looking, I think he was looking at King of Tokyo or something like that, and he's with his daughter, and I said, like, oh, that's a really, really good kind of family game. And we kind of got talking from there. And obviously, me being me, he kind of looked at me and went, are you okay? And he was like, I'm just really trying not to mention my tabletop podcast kind of thing, as I was like struggling. No, must not say it, must have normal conversation about tabletop, kind of must walk away. I've got a podcast, here it is. And that, and so there's that kind of thing where you kind of eventually go, well, we've been chatting and we've met at the club, the board game club a couple of times, and it's like, so do we move this to the next level and say, hey, do you want to come round for a game night? And you're completely right. You're completely right, Lindsay. Yeah. It's that kind of, and normally if you're making new friends, it's because you're kind of like, you're in the park on the swings, and it's like, what are you doing? It's like, I'm being Batman. Yeah. What are you doing? Yeah. I'm being Superman. Oh, cool. Do you want to do that together, kind of thing? Whereas the kind of the whole board game thing, it can be a bit kind of strange, because I guess if you're at a board game club and you're chatting away to somebody, at the end of the session, you can just all walk away and that's it. Whereas if you've got somebody around the house, it's like, I've got a Hoover and I've got to get food. That's kind of like a kind of worry. But did you find, Lindsay, that kind of helped kind of with your friendship circle? Kind of.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like if I could get a conversation going about board games at work, or if I could bring something to work, or I don't know, and start a conversation that way. And then if there was somebody that I liked at work, then I could invite them over for gaming. Like we did that. There was a couple that, I just adored from work, that we eventually ended up inviting them over because I knew that they were into video games, but I like when a video gamer and you are so close to being a board gamer, you just don't know it.
All you gotta do is get through that first, do you want to come over? And then they get there and you just have to sort of make sure that they understand you're not trying to be swingers with them.
Yeah, that's the danger.
No, we really invited you around to play board games. And then you get over that first hurdle and it's fine.
It's like they're putting the bowls out to put like the counters out for things like that, and then somebody goes, oh, is this where I put the car keys? It's like, no, not just yet.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
kind of thing.
But yeah, I mean, that definitely helped Lindsay having board games, because when, because like I say, I'm from Warrington, but we moved to Huddersfield right after we got married, and so I had friends from my university, and they got on well with Lindsay, but they were still kind of, computer game sort of geeky kids, and so they weren't your friends, and so Lindsay, having that to be able to go, right, there's a couple that I like at work, I think we get on with them really well, do you mind if I invite them round? And I'm like, of course, that's fine. And so, so we've still got friendships today that we maintain because of, initially getting into board games and inviting people around from board gaming.
Yeah, it works. Lure them with board games and food. It will work. You will make friends.
Especially if you're American, because you can say, we'll make you some American food. We'll make you sloppy joes. We'll make you corn dogs.
I don't know what that is. That sounds like some kind of pancake with chocolate in it and potentially onions. Could be anything. It could be anything at all. What is it you do for a job then, Lindsay?
I'm in sales.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm in sales.
What do you sell?
Exciting stuff.
What do you sell?
I sell parcels, like
shipping,
right.
Delivery.
Yeah, logistics.
Yeah.
Imagine people walking past in the street and it's like, now you look like somebody who wants a 2-kilogram brown paper package. Am I right? Kind of just
Courier packs, anyone? Courier packs? Yeah. So I talk parcels all day long.
Do you get kind of,
it's kind of fun.
Does that mean you're quite critical of kind of like the Kickstarter side of the business when, I don't know, do you guys do kind of Kickstarter at all, or have you done kind of Kickstarter at all?
We've dabbled with Kickstarter.
Are you quite critical of how things are shipped then, Lindsay? And you're just like, can't believe they sent that 48 hour, that could have easily gone 24 hour, they would have saved themselves. If they come through me, they would have saved themselves at least £4 per box.
I do look at the way that people decide things. It ultimately it comes down to cost, though, doesn't it? It all comes down to saving money, not necessarily what the customer wants, but it comes down to saving money.
It was really funny when we first had the conversation when Lindsay was saying, I've applied for this job and I'm going to go for it. And then when she got offered the job and she was saying, I've got really good ideas for board games. That was her, like, what was driving her motivation. Yeah. She was like, we can get lower shipping for retailers and for Kickstarters and for people that are shipping out to Essen and stuff from the UK.
Yeah. I've been able to, like, I've had little baby successes with them, but, we'll see. I've got a few ideas of new clients to call tomorrow, and we'll see what we can sort out for them. But yeah, it's always exciting. It's always exciting when you can help people find a better solution than what they were.
You've got to have a new business called Moving Behind the Box. There you go.
We should.
That's it.
Yeah.
Logistics.
I'll make a note. I'll write it
all
down.
your logistics things.
New solutions for moving all of your stuff.
Well, we're triple partners. I mean, I can talk about Amazon logistics, and you can deal with the postage side as well. So we can deal with them on fulfillment. Yeah, we can do fulfillment side of things, and and Chris can help as well.
I'll be there.
You can be there. You can be there chasing everybody with Trello.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're playing away. You're obviously having kind of like regular game nights, and the friends are kind of coming round. When did it move to video? As in, when did you sit down and actually say, do you know what, why don't we just film a couple of these things and see how it kind of pans out, see how it kind of works out, and put it on YouTube for a laugh and kind of see what happens? So is that kind of how that kind of happened?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, I'd thought about it because I watch a lot of YouTube, probably more than you should. And so I was toying around with the idea for a few years before we even started, because I was watching like Show Up and Sit Down and thinking, I could do that. We've got enough games. We could make enough videos. And then I just never did. And then it was at the start of 2017, and I spoke to Lindsay. I was like, how do you feel? I remember we were laying in bed. You were trying to fall asleep, and it was racing in my mind. Like, it got to the point where it was like running right through my head. Like, I couldn't sleep because I was thinking about what we'd do and what sort of games we'd cover. And and I was like, Lindsay, I'm really sorry. I know you got to sleep, but I need to just say this at you, and then you can sleep. I was like, and I just said, like, I think we should do this.
So this was like, was this more of a case of Lindsay wanted to get to sleep, so she just turned around to you and just said, look, if you shut up and go to sleep right now, you can do whatever you want regarding YouTube and board games. Just let me sleep. And you're like there going, yes, result.
It's basically like you were there. Yeah.
Negotiation success. I'll write that down in my notebook.
Yeah.
Me one.
That's how I get most of the things that I want. I went to Lindsay, trying to fall asleep, and then just pester her. And she goes, yeah, okay, whatever, just let me sleep.
It's good marriage advice.
I don't know if that is, but
it's good marriage advice for me. It works out regularly.
And this is why we've backed this £300 Kickstarter that's going to be turning up. You agreed to it. You know, it was probably 2:45 in the morning, but you definitely said yes. Kind of thing. Did you muck around with things yourself then, Chris? Did you kind of say, oh, let's do a shut up and sit down, and then realise that they include more than one continuous shot? Because I tried to do that. I went, how difficult can it be to do kind of like a video from multiple angles? And the answer is, it's very difficult indeed.
Yeah, it's really hard.
It's kind of like, you know,
it's mad.
Remembering where everything is and stuff like that. So did you experiment yourself for a little bit, just kind of filming different stuff, or did Lindsay kind of come in from the very, very beginning?
Yeah, it was both of us from the beginning. Okay. I didn't do anything before then. It was about April of 2017. We made the channel, came up with the name, and then didn't do anything until September of 2017. I think I don't know why we didn't. I can't really remember.
Did we make the trailer?
No, we didn't do anything.
Didn't do a single thing.
I think it's one of those things. It's scary to get started, and how do you start? And our camera was like a really old digital camera.
I think it was something I got as a graduation.
It wasn't very good. We didn't have any lights, and so we were lighting with lamps
on an ironing board.
It looked very professional. Our audio was really bad because we didn't know what we were doing with audio. We were both talking into one microphone that we wanted to keep out of the shot, so it was too far away. And so we sort of just started doing it together, discussing stuff. We never really tried playing around with multiple camera angles, because part of my vision that night in bed, when I was thinking about it, was, what if we just had one shot, no B-roll, just us talking about a game and reviewing it very quickly, like trying to get through it, because a lot of videos can go 15 to 20 minutes.
Yes.
And so we were like, what if the video was like 5 minutes and then that's it? And so we started doing that. I was posting them to Reddit to get feedback, because I know that, you know, Reddit's quite a big community.
Yeah.
I know, yeah. But when we first started out, we did get a lot of really good feedback from people there. I think it's when you start continuously posting stuff, they're like, okay, we've had enough of you.
Yeah, exactly.
You're done.
You get the little message coming through saying community guidelines state that you should only post stuff yourself once in a blue moon if your name's Cyril and you were born under the year of the goat. And you're like, all right then, get somebody else to post it then, should I? Kind of thing.
So so we just started, we just did that, and then got some feedback, and over time it's, you know, since transformed. And then we moved not long after we'd started, and we were really getting into doing it. So we bought a better camera from our friend. We got a friend that's really into cameras, and he was looking to sell one because he'd like upgraded.
Yeah.
And so he sold it to us really cheaply. And then we bought a couple of lights from Amazon and started trying to make it look better and sound better. We bought lavalier mics, and it was a steady, very expensive progression. But I'm happy with where we're at with it now. I think there's still room to improve, which is why I'm always looking at stuff, and I'm always trying to learn more about animation and lighting and sound, and it feels like a second job.
Are you trying? Is it difficult to be innovative but non-innovative for like innovative sake? Because I mean, one of the I guess one of my most favourite YouTube channels, second favourite, because obviously you're my favourite, but one of my second favourite, maybe third favourite channels, because I realise I'm going to insult other people as well, is the 3 minute board games.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I have caught that I think I'm pretty late to the party, and I can see why they've got so many subscribers and so many kind of people kind of chasing them, because you don't end up watching one, you end up watching 5. And it's just like, well, here's a review of, you know, here's the review of this game, here's the review of that game, and the cuts and everything like that are absolutely fantastic. And because there's not a face, I think because there's not a face to it as well, I've not automatically attached it to a person, and I kind of watch the cuts and the animation, and it must take ages to get this kind of 3 minutes of footage, but they're very, very they're very, very good. And it's the same, it was the same with yourselves. What I've always liked about the kind of the videos is you're not there to try and be kind of big and clever, if you know what I mean. You're not trying to make some kind of huge philosophical point. You kind of get a grasp of whether or not you like the game, if you did like the game, kind of what were the main things you kind of like, and you also get the dual opinion as well. Sometimes what I find in YouTube videos is you get one person looking at the camera and it's just their opinion, and sometimes it can go into a thing. But you guys, it's quite, I like how kind of, it's not condensed, it's just a case of this is what we think, this is why you play it, this is what we think, and then you go and you kind of go on to the next one, which is what I kind of like about your stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's kind of what we went in trying to do, was make it pretty quick, because we don't, I don't know if it's just that we're bad at rules for games, but a lot of videos, you know, they'll have the big rules overview beforehand. So what we try and do is have, here's more like the theme of what it's like, you know, instead of saying a game for 2 to 4 players where you'll be, you know, having to collect cards, like set collection in like Pandemic or whatever. It's, you know, your scientists and contingency experts and medics traveling the world trying to cure diseases, trying to like bring the flavor of the game and the theme and describe the game that way. Yeah. So it's more about not so much the rules and the mechanics in the little overview at the start, but more about the, how does it feel to play? What are you doing?
Yes.
And then we just move straight into then like, when we first started, we actually laid everything out like overview, positives, negatives, components. You know, we tried to like break it down, but we're not super formal people, and that felt very formal. And so when we got on camera, it did feel not rigid, but it felt very like it was too structured. You know, more recently we've been getting into just sort of more of a chat that's kind of not scripted, but it is structured, but it's more like, I think it flows better now these days.
Yeah, and that's what I like about it, is the fact that it could be the case that we're not necessarily watching you on video, but you are actually, we've bumped into each other in a cafe and we've decided to go for a coffee together. I've just asked you basically what kind of game you've been playing, and it's almost like that level. You know, it's not horribly casual that you don't get a kind of an indication of what the game's like, but you do get enough information for you to go, you know, you get a good, strong opinion from you guys, but you don't feel it's like, and now we're going to talk about the rules. Tell us about the rules, Lindsay, kind of thing. It's kind of fairly conversational. How many takes do you generally do then, you know, Lindsay? I mean, if you're recording, is it lots, or is it just like, you know?
It depends who you're asking.
Okay.
It's my fault. Whenever we can go for a very long time taking takes, and it'll be my fault because I will forget I'll forget a word. I'll forget how to say a word, and then
it's the camera that does it. I think it's not a cam. It's like a stage fright, but
it's just
if you, like, say, if we just bumped into you and had a coffee and Lindsay wanted to tell you about a game she was excited about, she could do it all day. But as soon as the camera's on, she just forgets what the game is.
The pressure's on.
Yeah.
We're performing now. I don't know. Like, I don't know what it is about it, but it just kind of flukes me. And then I forget what I'm trying to say, and then I get frustrated, and that's no fun. I mean, we always put bloopers on there, and I'd say a good 98% of those bloopers are just Lindsay screwing the heck up.
I didn't want to say.
Maybe.
I didn't want to.
No, it's fine. When we first started doing it, like I said, we didn't have any script. We just had like the overview, and we didn't really do any B-roll, and so we would have to do it all in one take, because for whatever reason we were like, no cuts, we can never cut. So if we messed up like right at the very end, we'd be like, oh drat, guess we've got to start over. Instead of just going, well, let's just throw some B-roll over that, or let's just do a cut. We never would. We always did it until we'd run through it every time in one go. Now we're much smarter, and when we write out what the episode's going to be, and we'll put like checkpoints throughout. We're like, right, we've got to get through that paragraph, and at the end, we're going to show this footage. And so we'll have, if we mess up after then, we know when we can jump back to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it a lot easier to go through it, but then it is sometimes some of the paragraphs are just over and over again, and the more you mess up, the more you start to get in your own head about it, so you mess up even more, and then...
Chris has to get creative with his cuts sometimes. When he's editing, he'll have to, like, create a word out of something that I've said.
I've had to make a full sentence from 8 different takes,
Really?
where each word is from a different take. Yeah, that happened once a few weeks ago, because Lindsay just kept saying it, but I could tell she was getting more and more frustrated on each take. And so the way she speaks is different. And so some words sound really mad. I'm like, well, I can't use that even though the rest of it's okay. So I'll like cut that word out and take from a different one. And this is all just under B-roll. And so I don't need to worry too much about the cuts, but the sentence needs to sound like she's saying it at the same level of happiness.
I've
Poor guy.
been there
Poor guy.
so many times.
Oh yeah, man, that's your whole thing, isn't it? It's going to be
when
editing
I've kind of
audio.
like, when I've been listening to myself and I was like, you sound like a fool, like a damn fool. And then I cut it out, and then I realised that there's some parts you can, it's not, I don't generally edit my guests. I generally will edit myself because it's like, I'm sick of listening to my own voice. I mean, most people probably are after 300 episodes, but there's sometimes, it's like, I'm very conscious sometimes if I've edited something, I've had to kind of be creative with the editing, because it's like, you know, all of a sudden I'll be like going, yeah, and that's really interesting. And there's that kind of, almost like that smash cut of kind of different words kind of coming together. With you, okay, what is your collection? Is it dictated by the games that you want to cover for the channel? Or do you now have, like, I guess a lot of kind of media makers? I don't like to call them content creators. I don't know, media manufacturers, people that make stuff. I don't know, farmers. I don't know, no idea. Don't know where I'm going with this. But do you have a kind of a pile of stuff that you've got to cover for the channel? And then do you have a pile of stuff that will say, I'll tell you what, let's cover that travesty, Terraforming Mars. Let's get out of the way first. And then we can go and play a good board game that we've been looking forward to ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Because we've been starting to, now that we're growing and, you know, we're going to more events, so we're meeting more publishers, and we are starting to get sent games. And so we do have a pile on top of our shelf that are the games that we currently need to play.
Yes.
We've got a pile of games that are the ones that we've played, and so we need to write up some sort of script or overview or whatever it'll be.
Yeah.
And then we've got scripts ready, but we also like to do other series, so we're enjoying doing like like list things like top 10s. We don't do them very often, but we enjoy doing those every now and then. They're a nice little break from doing the reviews, because you can be a lot more relaxed with them. We don't need to script them.
Yeah.
It's mostly just I'll do the 10 games and then put the camera on. And we've also started a series where Lindsay cooks food while reviewing a board game, which is a lot of fun. But we're going to try and start, I think, mixing up some of those things. So the reviews, we could do Lindsay cooking a food.
Yes.
Cooking a food. And review a game as well, like one of the games that we've been sent. You know, how everyone does, cook a food.
Cook a food.
So, yeah, we do have our piles. And then we've got our own games. Like, the majority of the games we've got are our games.
Yeah, it's interesting, the obligations that you create for yourself, you know, because you've got things that you feel responsible for covering this because it was sent to you. And then you've got things where you feel, I have to cover this because it's hot right now. And then there's other ones where you're very passionate about it and you're like, I really want to cover this because it's so good. And so you've got these different layers of needs, and it's how you put that together and get it to the viewer that is tricky.
It is tricky.
While maintaining your own, like...
we've got our own life.
Yeah.
Our own games we want to play just for pleasure. And, it is tough. And we've only got so much time, you know, in a week. We generally record most Saturdays.
Right.
Some Sundays. So, a lot of our week is used up because we work, and then, it is it makes it a long week.
How long's, I mean, is a recording session, is that like an entire day? Basically, are you talking like an entire day for you to kind of put a couple of videos to bed kind of thing?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we'll because we've got to set everything up, because our game room is where we do the recording, and it's not big enough to have a permanent setup. And so we have to set up the room that we're going to be shooting in, set the camera up, set all the lights up, and then break everything down at the end of it all. And
wow,
we do tend to do a couple of videos in a day. So throughout the week, we'll write our scripts and our overviews.
Or that's what we should do.
Yeah, we don't always do that. Sometimes it's Saturday morning, we wake up early so that we can write some scripts for the day.
See,
as most Saturdays.
That's why I like my gonzo style of podcasting, because I don't even need to do any preparation. People just think it's an interesting way of doing things, finding out nothing about your guests before they come on. And I just say, that's not my job. I just shut up and let them tell everything that they want people to hear. That's not my job. Have you ever been sent a game where you've kind of had to go, this is terrible, and I don't necessarily want to spend a day of my time? I mean, do you play games quite a few times to get a good feel about them and then give your opinion? I mean, have you ever had, I'm sure there's ones that you've had and you just went, I really can't understand why this is any good, kind of thing.
Yeah, so we did, I don't know if you're familiar with Board Game Exposure.
Yes.
The Facebook group. So we used to do reviews with them before they stopped doing that. And there was a game we got sent that was, I think it just finished its Kickstarter and it exceeded its goal by quite a bit. It wasn't a big amount. I think it was asking for £5,000 and it got like 20,000.
Right.
And we played it and we were like, that wasn't very good. Maybe we did something wrong. Yeah. So we rechecked the rules. We checked with Nick from Board Game Exposure. We're like, is this right? And he was like, yeah. And so we played it again and we were like, yeah, no, still not good. So then we played it.
I feel like we tried it with more people.
We tried it with more people because we were playing it with 2-player and we thought maybe that's the problem. Even though it said it should be able to play 2-player, we played it with 3 and 4 players a couple of times each. And everyone we played with was like, this is awful. What? This isn't even a game.
Yeah.
And we were like, yeah, this feels like a prototype to something that could be a game.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, in the review, we were like, we tried, but did not like this. We did offer constructive criticism, I think, about how they could help. Yeah. But we're like, but it's already finished its Kickstarter.
So that was a little pointless. Yeah.
So we were like, I don't know who this is really helping now.
The art was nice.
Yeah, it was very nice.
What was the game? Yeah. Come on. What was the game?
Shall we say? You can see.
It's pretty obvious. If you go back and you...
It's called... I think it was just called...
Right. Okay.
Something like... It's a card game.
Yeah. I think it's just called... It's a card game. I can't remember it very well, what it was like, but...
You had to, like, collect... Oh, no, you were trying to create these series of colors so that you could collect these ruins or something.
Yeah, there was, like, relics. It was like a set collection game, but everything just kind of came down to whoever goes first will get the better stuff every single time. If I remember, something like that. Yeah. You'd have to watch the review of it.
Yeah, I can't remember it very well, but it was like... Spring 2018, I think.
We got given it, actually, Nick gave it to us at Aircon last year.
Oh, right, okay.
And when he handed it to us, he went, have fun with this.
Aww.
Because he didn't like it either.
I didn't think you were going to share that part.
Oh, sorry, Nick. I mean, he gave it a bad review as well. So.
Did he? Okay.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
I hope so.
That means we don't need to edit this bit part. And make Nick... Is that Nick Welford?
Nick Welford, yeah.
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 But, a lot of times we can look at a same game very differently. That's the thing about, like, being 2 people on one channel. You know, like, there was a baseball game, and Chris was...
baseball highlights.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And you were a big fan of that game.
I thought it was really cool.
I could not get through that game.
Really?
Yeah.
It was...
Yeah, but then when we do a review like that, it makes it more interesting. We can talk about it from the 2 perspectives. Because a lot of times we do have very similar tastes with games. There's only a few differences, and one of the main ones are deck builders, which that's what baseball highlights is. And so I really liked it. I thought it was pretty cool. And then Lindsay just could not get into it.
Mm-mm.
But I think that works.
It's not baseball highlights' fault.
No, but I think that kind of works because you'll have kind of different, you'll have different tastes. And as the channel's going on, you can see clearly when sometimes one of you is like clearly delightfully more enthusiastic than the other. Or you're both kind of like, yeah, this is amazing. You're both kind of sitting there going, oh, this is the... kind of thing. That designer's going to come after me. I don't care. Bring your armies. I've got smelly feet. And because it's been sunny outside and I cut the grass and I didn't wear any socks with my trainers, and so my feet currently are deadly. You're lucky they're not on camera because you would be blinded. But were you surprised at the number of companies that were kind of happy to start to send you out kind of review and preview copies?
Yeah, really surprised.
Yeah,
it happened. It started just before UK Games Expo.
Mm-hmm.
Thames and Cosmos contacted us and said, hey, we want to send you a couple of games. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, that's awesome. We like Thames and Cosmos. Mm-hmm. We've so far liked most of their games that we played. Mm-hmm. And so we said, yeah. And then at UK Games Expo, I spoke to Ross from More Games Please about, because he gets sent a lot of games, and we just got onto the chat having a discussion about it. And he was like, if you want certain games, there's no harm in just asking.
Yes.
And just saying, here's our channel, here's what we tend to cover and review. If you think that'd be a good fit, we'd love to take a look at this game, mm-hmm. or if there's games you could recommend, And so we've done that a few times, and so far the results have been very positive. People have been more than happy to send us out a couple of games, mm-hmm. and that kind of amazed me. But the way Ross sort of put it to me was, they're going to be getting a lot of people asking them, can we review this game?
Yes.
And they were like, so if you don't ask, why are they going to really contact you when they've got probably a huge backlog of people that they could send games to review?
Yeah. I get, but on the other side of it, I guess, you've got, is it over 1,000 subscribers on the channel?
Yeah, just over, yeah.
So,
1088 or something.
In terms of, this is where the kind of the board game media is you can do comparisons in size with other kind of media, and that's still a decent number for a publisher to say, well, if I send them games and they've got 1,000 subscribers, and say, a fifth of those people actually watch the video, that's 200 people, and out of the 200 people, if 10 go out and buy the game from somebody, or 20 go out and buy the game from somebody, then it's kind of worthwhile them kind of sending out that copy in the first place, because especially if they get kind of like a decent positive kind of review from yourself, so you've kind of got that. I have done a Pontius Pilate on that completely, and the conversation that I had with Steve, wonderful Steve, who you should be checking out the blog stuff that he's writing, because he's doing some really wonderful, he's done a few reviews for us so far, and he's going to be doing quite a lot more reviews. And I said to him, okay, all I want is you can contact whoever you want, because I don't know, I feel funny about contacting people, publishers that have been on the show, to say to them, send us a preview or a review copy of something, because of how friendly I try to be on the podcast, and if I get sent, that's why it's recently when we had Janice Turner talking about, censor ghosts, while Janice was on the show, it was Steve that wrote the review for Censor Ghosts, because he was like an individual person with their own kind of thoughts and feelings, and they could be kind of impartial enough. I would have thought if Janice had been on the show and us spending kind of 20 minutes obviously talking about kind of various food intolerances, people would have went then, all right, so you've had, obviously you'll know each other obviously quite well, so therefore you're then going ahead and writing up a a write-up of their game that's on Kickstarter, that looks a bit sus. Whereas I give stuff to Steve, all I've said is, Steve, go, hunt, find, kill, eat what you want. And he's recently come back and said, right, I've contacted all these companies and I'm getting all of the games. And I was like, okay, crack on. That's fine. That's kind of fair. That's kind of fair enough. Of you, I mean, are you, I guess is it kind of like a kind of a continuing circle as you get more and more kind of publishers kind of willing to send you copies? Does that give you additional confidence to then contact even bigger names and say, hey, look, we are currently doing reviews for this guy, and, you know, this company and her there, could you consider adding us to your kind of your reviewers list?
Yeah, I found that for sure, because I've done, I think, pretty much all of that side of our channel is contacting these publishers. And like I said, Thames and Cosmos contacted us first, and so that was like, that's a pretty big company. We might be able to do this more. And so then when I started contacting a few others, and they were all very quick and eager to be like, yeah, absolutely. We'll send you some stuff out. You know, give us the address. We'll send these games. That definitely boosts your confidence. And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, we actually do have... I think because, like I said, we've got just over 1,000 subscribers. It isn't a huge amount. But I think in the board gaming world, it is getting a little bit more of a size. Yeah. But I think also we've shown consistency. We've put out basically one video every week for, 18 months at this point, probably, with only a little bit of breaks here and there. Yeah. So I think we've shown not only do we have the subscriber count, but we also have been doing this for a while. And I think we've met a lot of the people that, work for these companies and run these companies through different events like UK Games Expo and Aircon. And so I think people have kind of got to know us. Like Frank sending us the Isle of Cats was because we spent time with him at Aircon last year and then at UK Games Expo last year. And, so building these friendships and these relationships, it's more than just a random person contacting them and being like, hey, you don't know who I am, but can I have some of your games? Yeah, or
maybe somebody that's had them on the show about maybe 3 or 4 times now and, constantly supported them during the City of Kings and any other follow-up kind of campaign that you had. Yeah, thanks, Frank. I'm not bitter.
You're not bitter or anything, are you?
Not at all. If you excuse me, I'm just going to get some gin for this bitter lemon. No, I'm only joking. It's because Frank's a bit salty because I went on his Isle of Cats Facebook page and I just put my only contribution to the entire campaign is just to write, dogs are better.
I saw that.
Just kind of walk away. So there you go. No, it's fine. No, but it's good because my other thing is it's commitment for me to to say to people, oh yeah, give me this and I'll do videos and things like that. I just can't. It's really difficult for me to kind of commit that. And I know the types of videos. I've done a couple of videos and I was okay with them. I too want to be somebody who looks at shut up and sit down stuff and say, I could do that in a second, and then realise it's going to take me 3.5 months. And I'm just like, that's rubbish. But I'd also don't want to commit to people and say, right, I'm going to do kind of a big, huge kind of video type thing and commit to that and then realise that I'm kind of going, I really, really need to do this kind of thing. Which is why I've stuck to kind of unboxing and things like that as well. How's it been with your peers in the space as well? I mean, have you found that the community in general to be quite kind of open and friendly and warm, or are they going it's that behind the box people, go away kind of thing? How have you found that?
I found it to be very inviting.
Yeah.
We've made so many good friends through the hobby and at different conventions. It's just been unbelievable, and it's so easy to just it's so easy to socialize with people when you've got a game in front of you. It just kind of facilitates that. It helps you be a little bit less anxious, and you've got something to concentrate on so that you don't have to feel like everybody's looking at you. And it's just brilliant, and people are so warm and so helpful, so willing to give advice and...
Yeah, even we found it from the other creators as well. Like, at Aircon, Ross came up to us and he was like, hey, I'm about to play a game with Efka from No Pun Included. Mm-hmm. Do you want to join us? And we were like, okay, yeah, this sounds good. Yeah, not freaking out internally at all. And so we went and played games with the two of them, and he was just so lovely, so friendly, so nice, as is Ross, as you know. And then that whole weekend then, we kind of hung out with them a lot of the time, and Paul Grogan from Gaming Rules, we went down to his convention last couple weeks ago.
What was that like? I'm interested because I've heard people say some really, really nice things about it, and I know that Paul I think he was a bit stressed out about the whole thing. I think he went, I'm going to put a convention on, and then he went, oh, I'm putting a convention on. Oh,
yeah.
And he's like, I'm putting a convention on! But
I think that's exactly what happened to him.
How did it go?
Yeah.
What was it like?
It was really good.
It was great,
Paul thought of a lot of things, and he made sure that everything you would need was there.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just kind of a smaller version of what we normally experience at a convention.
So far we've only been to Aircon and UK Games Expo before this. Obviously they're a lot bigger, but it reminded me of Aircon, but like on a much smaller scale.
Yeah.
It was a nice, intimate gathering of like-minded people, everybody like super jazzed about board games, and it was really nice because Clumpton, where they had it, so I don't think we've actually said what it was that we were at. So it was called Ting, which is This Is Not GridCon. So later Paul is gonna, like back in November. He's gonna have actual GridCon. So this is kind of like a warming up for that. But Clumpton, where they have, I might not be saying that right. Is it Clumpton or
I think they pronounce it Clumpton.
Clumpton, right? Okay.
Yeah.
But it's like a really small, lovely village. Everybody knows everybody. It's a very close community. And quite a few of the people that belong to Paul's gaming group were there. And everybody, again, is just so happy to just play a game with you. You know, they'll come over, they'll see that you're packing up a game, and they'll say, hey, you're packing that up. Do you want to come join us with this other game? And you just find your people, you know, you just immediately belong. And it's really nice.
So welcoming. It was really good. I think Paul should be very proud.
Excellent.
Yeah, he did a great job.
Excellent.
I think he's going to have a good time with GridCon, because that's going to be a much bigger, more the real thing.
Yeah.
But I don't think he will worry, but I don't think he's got anything to worry about.
That's Paul.
Yes.
That is Paul, bless his cotton socks. What's your plans for the channel? I mean, I know they asked the kind of the innovation question, but one of the, I am dull and consistent, and I found that's worked, being kind of dull and consistent and allowing the guests to shine on the show. But is there temptation to kind of make multiple changes? Obviously, you mentioned kind of the Cooking with Lindsey spot and things like that. But are you quite happy just to say, well, let's just run along with what we've got and see how things go now? Or have you got kind of,
I think for me, because I do a lot of research into, how to do a successful YouTube channel and how to do social media and things like that. I've been getting more serious into looking into that this year. And so we've recently rebranded our channel a bit. We've got a new logo. We've got new channel banners on the YouTube and on Facebook and on Twitter. And, sorry, Lindsay's just dropped her headphones.
Sorry.
So right now I'm just waiting for Lindsay to put her headphones back in.
I'm so sorry. I had to open the door.
One of these things, and that's fine. You can put it in the blooper reel.
Yeah, we might have to do that.
I'm so sorry.
I think, a lot of it is just, we're doing the same stuff going forward, I think, on the channel. We're just doing it more improved. I'm trying to work with the YouTube algorithms a little bit better, and I think a lot of it, from my end, is more technical. We've recently changed some of the camera angles. We're using a wider angle. We're just trying out some new stuff and just trying to have fun with it. That's kind of always been the point. And that's why we started doing a series called Let's Party with Lindsey, which Lindsey thought up that name in a dream.
Mm-hmm.
And it's worked out pretty well.
Yeah, people have liked that, so...
Everything's coming up Lindsey lately. I get my own little Let's Party with Lindsey. I get to add plants to the window, which is something that, from the very beginning, I have been wanting to put us in front of a window and get some plant action up there. And only just recently, I have achieved what I wanted like 2 years ago.
It's direct connection back to the cardboard, isn't it? I mean, that's what it comes down to. You know, you're basically you're showing cousins. And this is if you grow up well and big and strong, one day you too could be a copy of Spirit Island. Oh, do you think so? And if you're bad, you'll be a copy of the darkness. I should stop saying that. You know, they're not going to listen anyway. You know.
I sure hope not.
I really hope not. And if you do, I really apologise. You know, obviously, I'm sure your
I don't think they've got this far.
Fantastic and wonderful. They would have cut out in the set the first time. We don't mean to eternally. Sure. It's usually Terraforming Mars is the whipping boy, and that's only because I know Stephen Bonacore is far away. If he ever turned up, this will be my thing. I was listening to a podcast today about Mark Cook talking about Aircon, and he mentioned Stephen Bonacore, and I could just imagine me turning up at Aircon, and all you'd hear is scream from the other side of the room as I enter into the conference hall, and Stephen Bonacore's running up towards me with like a deluxe copy of Terraforming Mars and smacks me across the face, and I do like a 180 over the table and end up smashing down, and he's like, "Slag off my game, will you?" And then on he goes, "That was a bad accent, but I don't care." Thank you very, very much for coming on. I'm aware of taking up far too much of your time.
No,
but
it's been great.
If people are interested in keeping an eye on what you're up to, well, they can see you anyway through the YouTubes. But where do you exist on the internet webs? Where can we find you?
So we're on YouTube. We've found it's best to tell people to search for Behind the Box board games, because right after we started the channel, there was this fad that went crazy called Behind the Box, where people would put things inside of a box and then put the hands in to the sides, and they'd have to touch weird stuff and guess what it is.
Yeah, my kids love that.
So that was great.
Yeah.
That was great timing.
Yeah.
So if you add the word board games, you'll find us. On Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, we're Behind the Box YT, like Yankee Tango.
You say I think.
No, it is. I know it is.
Okay,
it is. I can confirm it's Behind the Box YT.
Yeah, that's because it wasn't available just behind the box, unfortunately.
Too many people sticking their hands in boxes, that's the thing.
Scumbags.
Yeah. And then we're currently working through upgrading our website as well.
Excellent.
Is currently live, but it's on our old format, which isn't very good. It looks like crap.
Oh,
so,
don't say that.
I made it, so it doesn't look very
Yes,
nice.
It does.
I think it looks lovely.
The new one looks good. It's not finished, but it's looking good.
It's worthwhile getting checked out once it's all updated and looking fantastic. Chris is sitting there going, "Why are you saying my website's crap? What's wrong with you? We just spent like an hour talking really nicely, and then you bring my website in it outside." So, no, what we'll do is we'll take all those links and we'll put them in the show notes so that we have got notes to show. If you want to keep an eye on what we're up to, and bless every single one of you. May you, if you're too hot, may you suddenly go to your freezer and realise you've got a delicious ice cold Magnum sitting in there that you didn't realise that you had. So there you go. That's my bless to you. But if you want to keep an eye on what we're up to, go to the internet webs and search for We're Not Wizards, and you'll find us, because we're on Facebook and we're on Instagram and we're on Twitter, and we've got our website, which is .com, and we've got our blogspot, which is blogspot.com, and go there because Steve is about to ramp up the writing on that site. If you like what you've listened to tonight, we're on YouTube as well, but check out Chris and Lindsey. Don't check out our YouTube stuff because it's crap. But if you do like what you've listened to tonight, then go to iTunes or Apple Podcasts and drop us a rating or a review. And as we say, if you are going to give us a rating or review, don't give us 10 stars because it'll make us big-headed, and don't give us 1 star because it'll make us cry. Give us something in the middle, like a 5, because it's average, and we're just a little bit average. But the people who have not been average tonight and are my favourites, and I don't care, come after me. I've got Chris, I've got Lindsay. Thank you very, very much for coming on.
Oh, thank you so much for having us.
Entirely our pleasure.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and remember, like and subscribe and tick the little bell thing for notifications.
Yeah. All of those things.
Because an angel gets its wings or something like that. Don't know what that
that's
means.
What it is.
You know,
it's in the YouTube terms of service.
Something like that. There's only 2 more things to do. The first thing is to remember that we're many things, but we're not wizards. Are we wizards?
No. We are not.
We are not wizards.
Fantastic. And the second thing is to say goodbye. So it's a goodbye from Chris. Say goodbye, Chris.
Goodbye. Goodbye, everyone.
And it's a goodbye from Lindsay. Say goodbye, Lindsay.
Goodbye.
And it's a goodbye from me. Remember, stay safe, roll 6s. And remember, it's not on the box, the side of the box, underneath the box, in front of the box. If you want to get yourself some tabletop cardboard wonder and magic in your eyes, get yourself behind the box. But until the next time, stay safe, roll 6s, make something awful, and goodbye.
A wizard is never late. Nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.